All right. So are you ready to dig into Tim Cook?
I am ready.
We're going way beyond iPhones today. I mean,
Uh-huh.
this is the guy who takes over Apple from Steve Jobs. And not only does he keep it afloat, he makes it arguably more influential.
Yeah.
Expert speaker's back with me. And let me tell you, the research on this one was fascinating. I mean, you're going to look at your iPhone differently, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, I think what's so interesting about Cook is that he's not your typical tech CEO. It's not the story of someone coding in a garage. It's more about, like, understanding how companies tick and using that understanding to do good in the world.
Right. And it all starts in Robertsdale, Alabama. Not exactly Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah.
And not just Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama in the thick of the civil rights era.
Right. Like, think about that. Think about growing up with segregation and with inequality all around you. That had to leave a mark on him.
Oh, totally. Our sources talked about how jarring that was. We're talking just a few years removed from segregated drinking fountains.
Yeah.
Even classmates mentioned like casual racism just being a normal thing. It's almost like this environment hard-coded a strong sense of justice into him.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Cook. It's not just speculation. You can draw a straight line from his childhood to his actions as CEO. Look at his advocacy for LGBTQ+ rights. He's never backed down from that, even when it could have hurt Apple.
No, he hasn't. I mean, remember when he donated over $8 million to the Human Rights Campaign?
Right.
And he called out Alabama, too. Demanded anti-discrimination laws, even if it meant delaying Apple's investments there.
Wow.
He put his money where his mouth was.
He did. It wasn't just for show either. His commitment to equality, it's just in his DNA. It's a core part of how he leads.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you rethink these tech giants. They're more than just gadgets. But okay, so we've got this foundation of social justice. But how does a kid from Alabama become this operations mastermind? It's such a leap.
Well, that's where IBM and Compaq come in. He wasn't designing anything yet, but he was learning the ropes.
And these were some serious ropes, right? This is the Wild West of personal computers. IBM was practically printing money.
They were?
Sources even mentioned Time magazine giving their Man of the Year award to the IBM PC.
Wow.
Not a person, the actual computer.
Wow.
That's how big of a deal this was.
Yeah.
And Cook's right there in the middle of it, learning how to build and ship technology at a scale most people can't even imagine.
But this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, hit me.
So at IBM's North Carolina plant, Cook encounters this concept called just-in-time manufacturing, or JIT for short.
JIT.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know this might sound boring,
It does.
but trust me, it's huge.
It is.
So for those of us who don't speak supply chain, what's so revolutionary about getting parts right before you need them?
Okay, so think about it like this. Before JIT companies were drowning in inventory, they're wasting money on storage. And risking that stuff will be obsolete before they can even use it. JIT flipped the script. Toyota, for example, they built their whole system around it and proved that you could meet demand without these massive warehouses full of stuff.
Okay, so that makes sense for Toyota. But how does this affect me? I just want the new iPhone, right?
Because of this obsession with efficiency. You can walk into an Apple store on launch day and probably get that new iPhone.
Oh, wow.
That did not happen 20 years ago.
Okay, so JIT is the secret sauce. It's starting to connect the dots here.
It's a big deal.
All right, listeners, I hope you're taking notes because this is about to get good. But JIT isn't the whole story, is it?
Oh, no, not even close.
There's this other story about Cook at IBM
Oh, yeah.
that really shows you how intense this guy is.
Yeah, you're talking about the Why Are You Still Here story, right?
Yes.
It's legendary.
Okay, so picture this. It's the 90s. You're in a meeting at IBM, and some major supply chain issue pops up.
Not paper clips, we're talking like.
Oh, this is big. This is make or break.
Exactly.
And in the middle of it all, Cook just turns to his colleague, Sabi Khan, and says, "Why are you still here?"
Just like,
Deadpan.
wow.
No yelling, no explanations, just, "Why are you still here?"
And Khan, he gets up, leaves the meeting, goes straight to the airport and flies to China
No suitcase. Nothing.
to fix the problem.
That's efficiency.
Talk about results-oriented.
I mean, it sounds harsh,
Yeah.
but it also speaks to this shared understanding that every minute counts.
Yeah, they knew it needed to be done.
And that urgency, that's what defines Tim Cook.
For sure, and it served him well at Apple.
Because when he joins in 98, they are not the Apple we know today.
Not even close.
They are on the verge of collapse.
Yeah. Jobs is back, but he's focused on the products, the big picture.
Right, like the iMac.
Exactly.
And behind the scenes, you've got Cook quietly using his superpower
JIT.
to transform Apple into this manufacturing powerhouse.
He was the unsung hero for a while.
Oh, totally. And what's amazing is that he saw what others didn't. Apple couldn't compete with the big guys like Dell by doing everything themselves.
Right, they were trying to be everything to everyone.
So Cook makes a really gutsy move. He embraces outsourcing, starts partnering with manufacturers in China.
Which was risky. This is Apple we're talking about.
Exactly, a company known for its secrecy and control.
Yeah, but Cook, he's all about pragmatism. He saw this was the only way.
And, he famously said that excess inventory is fundamentally evil.
He did. He said that.
He's not kidding.
No.
There's another quote. He compares inventory to milk. If it gets past its freshness date, you have a problem.
That's a good one.
That's Tim Cook in a nutshell.
It really is.
So he implements JIT on a huge scale.
Huge.
And get this, within 7 months of joining Apple, he takes their unsold Mac inventory from $400 million
That's a lot of Macs.
to $78 million.
Wow.
That's not just good management. That's incredible.
It's amazing what he did.
It's no wonder Apple becomes the well-oiled machine it is today.
He laid the groundwork.
But then 2011, Jobs passes away.
And suddenly Cook's the guy.
Can you imagine that pressure?
Oh, it's unimaginable.
It's not just leading a company. It's following a legend.
A legend he worked alongside for years.
Exactly. And the sources. They did not hold back.
No, they were brutal.
Everyone's saying Apple's finished, that no one can replace Jobs.
That charisma, that vision.
It's like they thought Apple was doomed.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that.
But here's the thing about Cook. He doesn't try to be Jobs.
No, he doesn't.
He doubles down on what he's good at.
Operational.
Empowering his teams.
He's not the visionary Steve was. But he knows how to get things done.
And that's what Apple needed at that moment.
It's like he took Jobs' vision and combined it with his own genius for execution.
Exactly, the perfect combination.
But here's the other thing about Cook. He wasn't content with just making Apple efficient. He wanted to make it good.
Okay.
Remember those Alabama roots we talked about?
Of course.
They weren't just formative, they were foundational.
How so?
He brought that deep sense of justice to Apple.
Okay.
He made philanthropy a priority.
Which Jobs wasn't really known for.
Not at all. Under Cook, Apple starts donating millions.
To what kind of causes?
Education,
Okay.
human rights,
Right.
disaster relief.
Wow.
It was a real shift.
It sounds like it.
And it wasn't just about writing checks. Remember the controversy with Foxconn?
Oh, yeah, their manufacturing partner?
The stories about worker conditions were awful.
They were really bad.
Suicides,
Right.
protests.
It's a huge deal.
And a lot of companies, they would have tried to bury that.
Oh, absolutely.
Not Cook.
No, he owned it.
He was really troubled by it.
Yeah, you could tell he cared.
He orders audits,
Okay.
pushes for better working conditions, higher wages.
You have safety measures?
He even apologizes publicly.
Wow, that's rare.
It was huge. It
Yeah.
showed real accountability,
You don't see that a lot, especially from a CEO.
especially not back then.
You're right.
And remember, this is all happening while Apple is becoming the most valuable company in the world.
It's incredible.
Cook is proving that you can be profitable and ethical.
He really changed the game.
Like, he redefined what it means to be a successful CEO in Silicon Valley and beyond.
It's not just about the bottom line. It's about making a difference.
But it goes beyond philanthropy and
Right.
working conditions, right? There's also sustainability,
Right?
privacy.
Huge issues.
Cook's fingerprints are all over Apple's push to be a better company.
It's all connected to who he is.
And we'll dig into that right after this.
So we're back. And we're talking about a guy who's not just leading a company. He's trying to change the world.
Yeah, he's thinking bigger.
And a perfect example of that is sustainability.
Right.
Cook doesn't just talk about it. He takes action.
Like with their supply chain.
Oh, yeah. His goal is to make it 100% renewable.
Which is insane when you think about it.
Absolutely.
The number of suppliers,
Thousands.
the factories, the transportation.
It's mind-boggling.
It really is.
I mean, their data centers alone, those things use a ton of energy.
Oh, yeah. Huge energy hogs.
And they're all running on renewable sources now.
That's a big deal.
And it's not just Apple. They're pushing their suppliers to go green, too.
Uh.
Yeah. They're even helping them finance renewable energy projects.
Wow. So Cook's not just reducing Apple's carbon footprint. He's using their influence to change entire industries.
Exactly. It's leadership on a whole other level.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of taking a stand, we got to talk about Cook and privacy.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one.
This is where he draws a line in the sand.
Right. Like with the San Bernardino case.
Exactly.
The FBI wants Apple to create a backdoor
to unlock the shooter's iPhone.
Huge pressure on Cook.
Immense. And you know what he does?
What's that?
He refuses.
He said no to the FBI.
He did. Said it would compromise the security of every iPhone out there.
Wow. Talk about a tough call.
And he stuck to his guns, even with politicians breathing down his neck.
And you know what? The FBI ended up unlocking the phone without Apple.
They did.
So Cook's stance wasn't just about that one case. It was about setting a precedent.
100%. He was saying our users' privacy is not negotiable.
He stood his ground.
And it goes beyond just that one case. Under Cook, Apple becomes synonymous with privacy.
Right. They bake it into their products.
Strong encryption.
Transparent data policies.
Giving users more control.
It's all about empowering the user.
And, you know, in a world where our lives are increasingly digital, privacy is everything.
Couldn't agree more.
It's like Cook saying, you want the latest iPhone, great. But your data, that's off limits.
I like that.
But you know what really blew me away during this research?
What's that?
Apple's commitment to accessibility.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
It's something that's often overlooked, but it's classic Cook.
In what way?
He's made it a core value at Apple, making sure their products can be used by anyone.
Regardless of ability.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
They've developed incredible features.
Like what?
Voiceover for the visually impaired.
Oh, wow.
Switch control for people with limited mobility.
That's incredible.
It's like they thought of everything.
They really have.
And it's not just an afterthought. It's built into the design from the ground up.
You can tell it's important to them.
Cook sees it as a basic human right.
And it shows.
And think about the impact this has. These features aren't just about using a phone. They're changing lives.
Absolutely.
They're giving people independence.
Fostering connections.
It's tech with a heart.
It really is inspiring.
So here we are. We've gone from small-town Alabama to a trillion-dollar company.
Quite the journey.
From supply chains to social justice. Tim Cook's story is one for the books.
He's certainly left his mark.
He hasn't just led Apple. He's challenged Silicon Valley's definition of success.
He's proven there's another way.
It's not just about profits.
It's about purpose.
It's about using your influence to make a real difference in the world.
And he's done just that.
So the next time you use your iPhone, take a moment to think about Tim Cook, the guy who believes in doing well by doing good.
A rare combination.
And the guy who's not afraid to fight for what he believes in, even when it's hard.
That's the kind of leader we need more of.
Couldn't agree more.